Tonight, President Obama's plan that would give students a free ride at community college, it's gaining some mixed reviews. What does the plan entail and how beneficial would it be for students across this country? Well, tonight we speak with a college administrator for some answers. And problems for the PBA. Division within New York's police force is rising to the surface, and they're now rising for everyone to see. It also seems majority of New Yorkers in a poll just out not on board with the PBA's apparent mission to go head-to-head with Mayor de Blasio on this, including saying blood is on his hands. We'll ask here if rank and file are ready to put this fight to rest. Plus, the secret is out. We now know which films and actors up to receive an Oscar next month. Many folks say, including yours truly, I haven't seen one of them. Are they unpopular or are just less people going to movies nowadays? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and thanks so much for joining us. Well, tonight we're going to begin with a look at President Obama's plan to make college education accessible to everyone. Now, under his proposal, the first 2 years of enrollment at a community college or technical school would be free for part-time or full-time students. The plan, it comes with a $60 billion price tag, and all of the details on how it would be funded have yet to be released. This has drawn immediate criticism, primarily from Republicans like House Speaker John Boehner, who say the president's plan sounds more like a talking point than an actual plan. Now, despite the criticisms, the president does say his plan is what's best for students across the country.
Today, I'm announcing an ambitious new plan to bring down the cost of community college tuition in America. I want to bring it down to zero. Community colleges.
Now, the president's college tuition plans are already getting support, though, in several sectors, including from some interesting folks like take actor Tom Hanks, for example, who says that he cherishes his own community college experience. He said in a recent op-ed piece here, that editorial, I should say, that he hopes the president's idea sticks because, quote, more veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan this time, as well as another generation of mothers, single parents, and workers who've been out of the job market, need lower obstacles between now and the next chapter of their lives. He also went on to say, high school grads without the finances for a higher ed can postpone taking on big loans and maybe luck into a class that will redefine their life's work. Many lives will be changed. He also spoke about his own personal experience getting into the world of acting through community college. All right, let's bring on our panel here. T.J. McCormick, Republican consultant and never shy to express his opinions. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, will try and keep T.J. in line. Patrick Hennessy, administrator at Westchester Community College in Valhalla, New York. Scott Vanderhoff, attorney, former Rockland County executive with a new beard. And Andrew Whitman, clean-shaven, our senior political correspondent. Okay, Patrick, before we get into whether it's a good or a bad idea, explain, I think, some common questions from folks who either haven't attended or don't have experience with it. Price tag, I understand about $3,300. Is that
something like that, between $2,000 and $4,000. It depends if you're coming for one semester or two. You're there for the whole year. It's about $4,000.
Now, to get the associate's degree, it's 2 years. And is it like any undergraduate degree that it's, you know, you can have a broad major, or is this more focused to a particular specialty?
Well, we find at community colleges a lot of students take the 2 years and they really focus on liberal arts. So they get the liberal arts credits out of the way, then they go on to a four-year institution. But we have more than 70 programs, 70 academic programs, so you can do it either way. Start with liberal arts or pick your program.
Is there a typical demo of a college, community college student?
It's a little bit older. We have a lot of students who come back. They get out of high school. They might work for a couple of years, maybe to get some money so they can go back to school, and then they come back. So it skews a little bit older than your typical four-year institution where people come in right after high school, a lot of them. We get a lot of returning adults, too.
Have you found, not just since '08 and the market collapse, but even before then, as the price of college has gone up to ridiculous levels, that not only the type of student that goes to community college is different than before, but also the quantity of applications that you have coming in, people who are going to college, community college in numbers, and also the type of students you didn't have before?
Well, demographically, what we're seeing is a lot of the middle-class students coming in. It used to be people who did not have the money to pay for a four-year institution would go to a community college. We're seeing more middle class because of the fact, as you say, four-year institutions, they do charge a lot.
Now, I've heard this two different ways. Some say that not all the credits are transferable if a kid goes to community college and then wants to move on to get a 4-year degree, and others say no, they are. It's just a more affordable option. Which one is it?
Well, we have a lot of our courses that really are transferable because a lot of our students we know are going on to a bachelor's degree. The thing with our college is we're part of 64 campuses. We're part of the State University of New York. There's a lot of articulation there. So if you come here for 2 years, you can move on. You stay in the SUNY system, you're good.
Would the impact extend beyond community college? I mean, if you make community college free, would that slow the tuition curve at other universities since there's a free alternative?
I think it could affect the four-year institutions. It really could, because if it's free, you're going to draw more people to the community college. We'll see what the four-year institutions have to say, but it could really affect them.
How much would the president's proposal, and obviously we'll get into the politics of it because there's a lot of challenges, but if on face what he talks about was actualized, would it change it a lot, or can kids already swing the $2 to $4 grand that they're putting out every year already?
You either have the money or you don't. $4,000 is a lot of money if you don't have that $4,000. What we've found is we've had to supplement things. We have more than $1 million that we bestow to students through scholarships. We get that money from donors. So you need, even at a community college level, $1 million to get a lot of these students through. And we divide that up for various students. But $4,000 is a lot of money if you don't have it.
And you know, I'm just wondering also, you just mentioned the demographics, the traditional demographic, I guess would be non-traditional students, I think is the term. A lot of these non-traditional students, even if you zero out their tuition, they're still going to be in a tough spot to pay for childcare, to pay for meals, transportation. A lot of them don't have cars.
Well, that's one of the problems, is it not? I mean, you've got the Pell Grants, which are the federal grants,
Which
you
already
can
make
use,
it.
right? And you can use those if you have tuition paid for. You can use those for books. You can use it for food. You can use it for other things. So one of the arguments is that some of the middle class, upper middle class, will benefit more than those who are lower middle class.
Right, we've heard that, and it'll be interesting to see if this proposal actually goes through. But I think you're correct. I think that's one of the criticisms that people have had. Basically, when you have a scholarship, it's an aid-based scholarship or it's a need-based scholarship. But some people have said, do the middle class people really need that money? So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Richard, this is a win-win for the American people. Now, I know you said we'll get to the politics later. Unfortunately, no offense, this proposal was dead on arrival. It's never going to happen. But it's a great initiative that the president is putting forth. And I know what I'm talking about on this. You know I talk about quite a bit the 55 grand a year it costs to put my daughter through Syracuse University. What was important for me and my wife was that we didn't want to take out a student loan. And we didn't get financial aid, so we had to pay this every year. So $55,000 versus my son that went to SUNY Rockland. He just graduated, RCC, $4,000 a semester, $3,500 to $4,000. So you do the math in terms, same education, up to 75 credits transfer. And I thank you for pointing out that once you're in the system, because that's exactly what happened to my son. 75 of his credits from RCC have now transferred to SUNY Purchase, and he's completing his bachelor's degree in a year and a half. You can't beat that.
So then what's the basis of the opposition, he said, turning to the Republicans at the panel? Is it just based on cost, or
Is he going
is
to pay
it...
for it? I
Well,
think it's
but
right.
that-
See,
but-
that's what I'm telling you. It's dead on arrival.
Boehner is right about this, and I don't think he's right about most things, okay? But he's right about this. This is talking points, because this has the Medicaid look to it, which is suddenly states and therefore counties and others will have to come up to pitch this for their 0.25%, whatever it is. And Medicaid is a killer for counties. And the point of this is that counties already, I don't know about Westchester, but in Rockland County, we support our Rockland Community College by about 40% of its total costs. Now you add to that, so that's a taxpayer-driven, dollars. The state goes less than a third, and they're supposed to be at a third. Now you add this in, and what does it mean to the taxpayers in New York State? I mean, for New York State, it's a different thing. One other point about that: private institutions in New York are all everywhere, and they are competing with each other.
Yeah.
And how does this
The
play out?
Monroes
But this feels like
and
this feels
we
like
heard
an
this buzzword, this
infrastructure investment.
unfunded mandate. This is it. This is a brand new unfunded, which in New York does not need.
But if I bring it back to if you listen to the rationale for the president's thing, he referenced that we're falling behind as a nation on the global stage in terms of an educated workforce. My question is, if somebody's going to a community college and they don't have visions of going to a 4-year school, can they walk out and find employment, and what kind of employment can you get with that 2-year degree? Are we talking about two different things? The president's talking, and I think most people assume he says, oh, we need more engineers, we need more people in the sciences. But when he's putting the emphasis and the resources, at least on a proposal level, to community colleges, what's he talking about graduates? What can they go out and find in the workplace?
Well, you have a couple of different things. You have the student who goes there and gets the short-term certificate. He knows exactly, she knows exactly what she wants to do, where she wants to work.
Like what, for example?
Well, you could get a student who would be in the culinary arts, who might want to be a chef. You could get a student who wants to be an engineer. You could get someone who wants to start in architecture. We have 70 different programs. And then you have those students who start with the liberal arts and move on from there. But really, a lot of students come in, they get the 2 years, and they jump into the workforce. That's what our career and transfer center is all about.
And are people doing this calculation that we wouldn't have done? At least I speak for my parents' generation. They never would have said, they said, you're going and you're getting. Now people are saying, time out. They're like Dominic, saying, wait a minute. I'm spending 50, 60 grand a year for my kid to come out with an undergraduate degree versus they can go for 2 years of community college. They pocket all the other money. Forget about whether the president chips in and pays for it or not. And they don't have the loans hanging over their head. They don't have those debt obligations. Is the value of college, and I know you educators must have had this debate ad nauseum, is the value of college today what it was 20, 15, even 10 years ago?
Well, obviously people feel that, especially about the community college, because we are at record enrollment. They are flocking to community colleges all across the country, and especially here in Westchester. It really is something that is catching on. So we like the fact that whether this proposal goes through or doesn't, people are talking about community colleges and their role in the local economy.
And they have been. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, TJ. One of the things that I think is really good about the president's proposal is this question of graduation rates. Because overall, is it a quarter, I mean nationally now, of those who enter community colleges graduate? Only 1/4. So it has to be tied to keeping those students in. Don't you agree with that?
Well, that's a good point. And one of the things that people think about, your associate's degree is a 2-year degree, but some people take longer. What the president is suggesting, that people come in half-time or full-time. The tricky thing is not everybody's ready to do that. Some people
And there are some stipulations in the proposal. I think they have to have a 2.5 GPA. I think they have to complete from the...
Hey, Richard, keep in mind, we've been down this road before, the country, in terms of right in New York State. Ed Koch is fined. People like Ed Koch, Colin Powell, talking about they attended the City University of New York system when it was absolutely free or basically free. So it's already happened in the state of New York a long, long time ago, but it seems like now they're trying to get back to those days.
Even longer time ago, it was the discussion about high school in the early 20th century, about whether one should have high school for all students. So this discussion about education is not new.
And the whole idea of GI Bills for attorney vets and everything else. Patrick, I really appreciate a few minutes. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
All right, we want you to make your opinion heard as well at home. Head over to Facebook and Twitter and sound off on our question whether you support the president's free community college plan. And I know the guys here are right. We're still waiting on some of the details. But what do you think about the concept? All right, when we come back, we'll switch gears. De Blasio versus the NYPD. Simplistic maybe, but we know there is a real rift that is going on here. And the question is, who bears the responsibility? Well, we're getting an idea where the public stands on the issue. New polls out showing who, in fact, the public puts the majority of the blame on. We'll have that and more after this.